Just get into action. You hear that all the time, right? You hear business strategists, marketing coaches, all of these people say it's time to get off of your duff and into action. That is how you create change in your business. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I am not disagreeing with that. But today, and to be honest, this was not in the podcasting plan, but I really wanted to talk about this because today it occurred to me that I think the conversation we need to have is, especially when it pertains to creating content and coming up with a strategic content plan. I think that what is happening is we are failing to distinguish the nuance between being in action and making a decision. And all of this dawned on me today as I was walking home from dropping my little girl off at school. And I have about a 10-minute walk home by myself. And usually that's when my great ideas come to me and when my flow really starts to hit home. And it really did occur to me that when I think of most of my clients who have come up against blocks, it's not that they didn't want to take action. It's that they were having trouble understanding how their content flow or their strategic plan was guiding them to a decision point. Remember back in episode 1 of season 2, when we relaunched this, I talked about one of the biggest lessons I had in 2021 being build in pivot points. And I clarified and said that a pivot point is where you create an opening to make a decision, a strategic decision. So that's what I want to talk about today on the show. I want to talk about this concept of decision making and action taking and how the two go hand in hand, but they're not necessarily the same thing. And if you are stuck constantly taking action, but not making clear decisions, or constantly remaking and making decisions, and that's preventing you from taking any clear action, obviously you have a problem. So let's dig into what all of this actually means for you and for your content flow and for your business today on the show. By the way, I'm Erin Trafford, digital entrepreneur, mentor, and strategist. And this show is all me, sharing my true to life, authentic, no BS approach to business building. I promise to share with you the reality of what it takes to turn an idea into profit and a passion into a business. This is permission to leap. Okay, so let's set the scene here. Let's just set the scene. I want to actually pull back the curtain a little bit on a personal experience that we had through 2021. I think that this whole season is going to be musings and learnings, observations, and insights based on what happened in my company and to most of my clients through 2021, because there was a lot of learning done. Okay, so some of you who have been, if you have been following me for any length of time, you may have seen something happen around June-ish of 2021 when I decided to recommit to blogging daily. Now, I want to put an asterisk beside blogging, and I'm going to do this very intentionally. I was not strategically blogging. I was not blogging for SEO. And when I teach in my Organic Traffic Academy in that program, we talk about strategic blogging, which is a very different content plan than daily blogging, okay? Now, daily blogging is usually, I prescribe it to my clients and I prescribe it to myself. That's what I did in June as a way to create an unlocking. Let me explain. So June, I think I talked about this in episode 1 of this season. We had just come off probably the craziest time in my business ever. So we had launched 2 programs within about 2.5 months. My production company was taking form, even though I didn't think that was happening at the time. In hindsight, that's what was happening at the time. So I was juggling a lot and I was feeling really detached from my flow. I couldn't align myself. I needed that puzzle piece to click into place again for me so that I had some clear direction. And I felt, even though there was all this positive stuff going on and I had, Stories for a Year was a great success. The beta launch of that program did really, really well. And, I was everything was going great, I still felt really out of alignment. So I sat down and I thought, what is going to get me back into alignment? Now, I didn't have the answer to that question. I wasn't able to decide what's going to get me back into alignment. But what I was able to do was take action and commit to that action. So what happened is I took action and blogged every day for about, I think I ended up getting, 35 or 40 days straight. And I didn't do weekends. I didn't do stats. I just kind of did weekdays. And the purpose was to get me into action so that I could make a decision. I did it very, very intentionally. Had I tried to sit in that place where I was in overwhelm with a lot of information and feelings and stuff coming at me every day, had I tried to decide what was going to put me in alignment, I would have just sat there stuck forever, because it would have been too easy to say, maybe it would be this, maybe it would be this, maybe I should do this, and either do nothing or try to do all of it. And we know what happens when you try to do all the things. You burn out very fast and you do nothing well, right? So here is where this distinction between taking action and making a decision gets really clear, right? So when I sat down to do this daily blogging thing, I thought it was going to take me 90 days. And I don't know what I was thinking. It didn't take that long, because I'm a creative by nature and I'm very in touch with my feelings. And in fact, I'm very in touch with where my feelings live in my body. If you're familiar at all with human design, I am a sacral generator with a defined root, which means, for those of you who are not into human design, which means that my body often knows the answer before my brain does, and that I feel it basically like at the tip of my butt. Like I can feel it in my root, what the answer is. And my job is to just give myself time and space to really feel what that feeling is. Is it fear? Is it excitement? Is it all of those things? So I had given myself 90 days to take action with detachment from the outcome. I didn't care what it did for my business, which is why I didn't strategically blog. So if you are in my Organic Traffic Academy and you're wondering, oh my goodness, I was doing all of this deep research and the SEO and the keywords and everything every day, I was not doing that. I was daily blogging. And here's what I was looking for, okay? I was looking for that point where, call it the universe, call it woo-woo, call it, my body, my sacral response, to verify my assumptions. My assumption when I started blogging was that daily blogging was going to be a thing for me, or that regular blogging was going to come back up into my life as a strategic content flow. If you're not familiar with the concept of content flow, it's something that we talk about, we teach, we build with our students in my mentorship program called Story and Strategy School. Content flow is how you get in touch with the right content at the right time to launch whatever it is you want to launch. So we call it a content flow. But I was out of touch with mine. So the point is that I was using this daily blogging to verify that daily blogging was what I wanted to do. Oddly enough, when we go in with assumptions, often we bust them to shit. Like they're not true. So the faster we can get to that decision point, the better off we are. The way to get there faster is to take consistent action. So by about day 40, we went on vacation for 3.5 weeks. I didn't write when I was on vacation. I completely disconnected. And when I came back, I sat back down to my desk to recommit to the action. And all of a sudden the answer was there. All of a sudden I had a decision to make. Am I going to move forward with this seemingly willy-nilly, not super grounded daily blogging practice? Or am I going to go back and look at what that practice told me and make some decisions? And that is exactly what I did. Now, when I say go back and look at what that practice told me, there were two key things I was looking for. Number one, I was looking at the hard data. I went into my Google Analytics. I went into my Instagram Analytics. I went into my Facebook Analytics. And I evaluated the posts that really gave me the best data storytelling. That's something we talk about in the Organic Traffic Academy, data storytelling. I was looking for signals in the numbers of what my audience was resonating most with. And let's put a pin in that because I'll come back to what it told me. But the other thing I went back and looked at is I did an assessment of all the posts that I wrote. And I keep careful track of everything, even though I say willy-nilly. Like, I'm still tracking this on a spreadsheet. I have it logged so that my team can see what I'm doing. I'm not kind of operating in a vacuum. And I really looked at the posts that I wrote that felt the best for me to create in my body. And then the ones that generated the responses that felt the most energizing. What I want you to hear is that I was looking for two types of data in order to make the decision. I was looking for hard data, tangible numbers, metrics, really important, but I was also very rooted in the feeling. And if you've worked with me at all, you know that I will tell you to your face, if something feels like shit, just because some guru on the internet is telling you that this is the path to content creation, if it feels like shit for you, don't do it. You have to be rooted in the feeling. I also talk a lot about how it's really our jobs now as digital content creators and digital entrepreneurs to get in touch with how our story wants to come out. Because usually the story is in there kind of saying, hey, help me get out. And this is how I want to get out. And when we ignore that, that's when we start to feel this like resistance and this procrastination and all of that. So what I discovered is that the posts that felt awesome to write, that generated the best response, and oddly enough, also had the best tangible data storytelling, were the posts that I first created in my head as episodes of Permission to Leap. So the decision was, do I continue just writing and blogging? Or do I pull up my big girl panties and admit that it's time to revive this show? Because doing this show, I have to be honest with you, is my flow. This is my content flow. This is my story flow. Podcasting is not the flow for everyone, but this is what it was for me. And I want you to also see that I was not in a position in June to see that this was the answer. But what got me to this decision was taking the simplest action and committing to it strategically. I committed to it to create two distinct data sets, the numbers and the feelings. So all of this to say is that you need to build your foundation on those feelings and then create the metrics and the numbers case to back up what you're doing. So if you are out there posting on Instagram because you think you need to be there and it makes you feel like dirt, I want you to give yourself permission to take another action and commit to taking another action with your content and doing what I did, knowing it's not going to be perfect, knowing it's likely not going to be the end decision, but create another decision point that will help you move forward in a really aligned way. So now what we're doing in my business, to be perfectly honest, is we're reevaluating the content that's on the blog. We're actually changing the template so that we can share more multimedia. We are adjusting our content flow and our promotions plan. We're even, to a certain extent, I'm working with a funnel strategist and an ad strategist. We're changing the way we are promoting paid and earned media, completely changing it. But that feels good in my body. Had I gone back to June and just kind of willy-nilly been overwhelmed, doing all the things that everybody told me to do and stuck with that and run paid ads and tried to attract people into my business with that energy, my guess is I would have hit a wall really, 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 really fast. So the key takeaways from this show today that I want you to hear: Action taking versus decision making. One can beget the other. But the key is the action can be imperfect. It can lead you to the best decision point if you are doing it intentionally and strategically, right? Intentionally and strategically. You need to take the action. Don't just take it for sake of taking it. The other thing I want you to hear is that feelings are very valid data points. So get in touch with how you feel in your body when you are creating for your business. If being on video makes you want to throw up, don't do video. If being on Instagram makes you feel like you hate your life, don't do Instagram. Maybe try Pinterest. I call Pinterest the happiest platform on the internet because nobody is on Pinterest to judge anyone else, right? That's also a visual platform. If you don't like doing sales calls, if sales calls make you feel itchy in your body and super anxious and you feel gross and sleazy, well, come up with another way to qualify leads and try it for 45 days and see what happens. You may not be able to stop doing sales calls altogether, but you're giving yourself another option, another data point. That's what this is all about. So the metrics are data. Super important to understand what the numbers are telling you. But 9 times out of 10, the numbers will back up how you are feeling. Both things are important. You need to build your content strategy, your story strategy, your business strategy on a foundation of feelings and data. This episode of Permission to Leap is brought to you by 77 Story Prompts, my free downloadable resource to help you unlock your story and start posting with purpose. Head to the link in the show notes or to erintrafford.com/77-story-prompts to pick up your copy now. How are people using these prompts? Well, however feels right. Some use them to craft compelling email content. Others are using them for podcast ideas and blog posts. These prompts are not like your average prompts. They're designed to get you out of your should do's and into your want to do's. They're going to help you unlock and uncover how you want to feel when you create content for your business. 77 Story Prompts is available now in the show notes. This has been Permission to Leap, a podcast produced by me, Erin Trafford, with the support of Eye Contact Productions and Story Studio Network. Music for this podcast is supplied by archesaudio.com. If you love the show, please consider leaving me a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on whatever podcast platform you love. It really goes a long way to helping other people find the show. And don't forget to follow along on Instagram at its.erintrafford and tag me with your takeaways and thoughts using #permission to leap. Thanks for listening. Until next episode.